Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paranormally Speaking. We're thrilled to be with you this week. Hello, Lynda. Hello, Trevor. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you, Kathy?
I'm good. My daughter's birthday was yesterday, and so we did something different. I've never done it before. We went to an escape room, actually, and it was a lot of fun. I've never been to one before. I mean, I've played them online, the virtual escape rooms or whatever. But this was different, and it was a lot of fun. So anybody in the Edmonton area, go to Trapped. It's on White Ave, and it's definitely worth your time. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. There was 5 of us. And the fun part, the fun part is watching. I helped a little bit. Okay, there was a couple of times where I was like, oh, we just do this, but it was mostly watching the kids figure it out. And you realize, I actually gave birth to some pretty smart humans. And that makes you feel so much better. You're like, oh yeah, you guys you know what you're doing. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got to go to I did an escape room one time. Took my whole family, which cost me a small fortune, but it was very cool. I mean, honestly, the good ones they do a really good job. I mean, they set the scenes. The rooms are well decorated, really cool themes, things, and very very interesting clues and things that you have to figure out. But I didn't get to do much of anything, as every time I was opening my mouth, I was like, and everybody's talking over. It's just my wife and my daughter's just going absolutely ham in there, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna sit over here in the corner and be quiet.
Yeah.
They'll get us out eventually. So, and they did a good job. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we had to ask for a couple of hints from, we were allowed to ask hints. We had to get a couple because there was a couple of them that we were like, we don't know. But once they gave and the hints that they gave were really minor. Like they were just like, da da da, and you were like, oh, wait a minute, okay, and either or it coincided with something that we had already been thinking, and so it just kind of validated that. But we did make it out in time, and I think we had 2 minutes to spare. So we just made it by the.
Yeah. The best part, one of the areas that we were in is that there was a rainstorm, and so it started raining on us. It was awesome. It was good because it was kind of hot in there, and I was sweating, so I was definitely welcome. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Everybody else wasn't quite ready for it. They didn't think it was cool as I did.
Yeah. You were having a great time.
I was having a blast. It was like watching everybody else do all the work for once. So, yeah. But that's it. It's actually a funny thing, because actually it's a really good segue into what our topic is. Talking about working together and and unity. Good job, Kathy. I bet you had that planned this whole time, didn't you?
You know what? I would like to take credit, but I cannot. It just worked out that way, and I mean, so we're gonna bring on our guests. We got Michael Chiana from Heritage Hunter Society, and we've got Eddie Howell from NC Hags, and we're going to bring them onto the show, and we're really looking forward to this. So
that's great. We got 2 guests. 2
guests.
Yeah, everybody gets double the fun for all the viewers.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome, guys. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
So welcome. So
that was my idea, the paranormal unity.
What's that?
You stole it from me.
No. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Well, so Eddie, we've had Michael on the show, several times now, but tell us a little bit how you met Michael, but how you also got started. How did you get started in the paranormal? Have you been doing this for a while now?
Yes, for a long time. And as far as organizationally, it's been since 2006. But I do have a history before that. And I have something in here I'm going to show you because I realized years ago that as a child, I did not realize I would be doing something that they did on one of my favorite television shows.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Nice.
Rather serious because I used to love to watch it, and I thought it was so neat. And I did not do this because I was emulating them or anything like that. But at the same token, when I got older and got into all this stuff, I looked back on it and I thought, maybe I actually did learn something from that show. Even though it was a kid's show and it was kind of tongue-in-cheek and all that stuff. But
Your microphone's just off a little bit, Eddie. I don't know if you need to be a little closer or something. It's kind of crackling.
well, actually, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I have a big microphone right here.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it was just a little bit off there for a second, so we didn't want to miss what you were saying.
Okay, I'm assuming you can hear me.
We can, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know Scooby-Doo was actually one of my favorites growing up too. So I don't think there was a Scooby-Doo episode that I ever missed. So
Yeah.
Did you ever see the Scooby-Doo and Supernatural crossover?
Yes. That was amazing.
That was one of the best episodes ever.
Yeah.
So,
I might have. I don't remember.
yeah, if you ever watched Supernatural, it was a later season. It was called Scooby Natural. It was great. It was great.
I love it.
It was probably one of their best episodes. Like, it was so good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Well, basically, how I got started in all this is because when I was growing up, and by the way, if you don't understand my accent, because I am from North Carolina, Michael can interpret for me.
We can understand it.
Okay.
Isn't there? You can probably put subtitles on them if we have to.
Yeah. Hopefully, I have more of a proper Southern accent as opposed to extreme Southern accent. But either way,
you sounding good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I grew up in North Carolina and grew up in a very conservative religious home, and which I don't know how everybody feels about that, but to me it was wonderful with a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And I have two older sisters, and when I got about 11 or 12 years old, I started noticing some things happening because the sister that was closest to me, that, you know, on a Friday night or Saturday night when you watch movies together, eat popcorn, all the stuff kids do. Well, by then, the oldest one was off at college and the middle one was out doing things. She was a teenager, and I, you know, was stuck at home a lot of times. And my parents would go to bed and I would be watching television, and lots and lots of just noises and things started happening, which I really can't explain to this day. But we had, you know, the television had 3 channels, and it was the kind that you turn back then for young people. You actually had to physically turn the channels. And that was one of the first things I noticed is I would be watching a movie or a show late at night, and I would get up to go to the kitchen to get cereal, ice cream, whatever. And I would come back and it would be on a different channel. And we did not have a remote control or anything like that. I was the remote control.
Yeah.
It was such an archaic time back then. I mean, we actually had to physically get up, and walk across the room, and then click the thing, and you know. I can't believe we survived that.
So lo and behold, I would hear things coming down the hall, and like somebody was walking down the hall, and I would assume it was my parents coming down the stairs, and there wouldn't be anybody there. And I would literally get up, run over to the hall and like look, and there would be nobody there. And all of these things just kept happening, and I couldn't figure it out. And I tried to mention it to my parents, and they didn't want to hear about it. They didn't want to talk about it. And some really unnerving moments where some things happened where I felt like maybe somebody was right in my face, and I would see things at a distance. But quite a few years later, I had not told that many people, just some really close friends. And when I was around 18, my parents had gone out of town to visit my oldest sister in another state. And my middle sister was off married, and I was the only one still at home. And I had had a bunch of guys, about 5 guys, friends, to come over, and we were all going to sit up late and watch movies and all that stuff and talk. And we were sitting in the basement where my bedroom was at that time. It was a long set of stairs going up to the den. And the door to the den was closed all the way. And we're sitting down at the bottom of the stairs, and we've got the stereo going, and it's really low because we're sitting there talking, telling things that teenage guys talk about that you can't repeat. And all of a sudden we heard this noise, and we all looked up the stairs, and the doorknob started rattling back and forth violently, just like it does in the movies. And the door swung open and slammed against the wall, and we all jumped up and ran out of the house.
Jeez.
And most of the guys didn't know anything, but my best friend said, "Oh my God, you were not lying. You really do have a ghost." And I said, "I've been trying to tell you for years." And so that was one of the big things. And then later, in around 1998, I was at my parents' house, and I was just visiting, and I was sitting there talking to my father, and they forbid me to talk about it. They didn't want to hear anything about it because they were not into that and didn't believe that stuff. And all of a sudden, my father looked at me. Nobody else was around, and he said, "You remember that ghost you used to talk to or talk about?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because I mean it was kind of like a taboo subject. And he said that, and I'm like, "Why are you bringing that up after all these years?" And he said, "I knew you were telling the truth." And I was like, "Hold it! I thought I was going crazy as a teenager, and now you're telling me you knew about it." And he said the reason he knew about it was one night he was sitting home working on church work because he was a deacon at the church, and nobody was there. I was off at band practice, and my mother was like playing bridge or something. And the only thing there with him was the cat. And he said all of a sudden, he started hearing voices from the basement, of course, where my room used to be. And he's heard 3 distinct voices having a conversation, and it went on like 10 or 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I always thought it was one ghost. Come to find out it was 3, and he heard all 3 of them talking. And I asked him, I said, "Well, did you go over to the door, open it, listen or anything?" And he was like, "No." And I said, "But that's how you knew?" And he said, "Yeah, that had happened many years before, I guess back when I was in late teenage years or whatever." But that's the story of how I grew up with ghosts. So I was very used to dealing with it and didn't realize until many years later, me and some friends started NC HAGS, which is North Carolina Haunts, Apparitions, Ghosts, and Spirits.
Okay.
And one person didn't believe it all. I had experience. One guy was a little bit on the kind of psychic side, or whatever you want to call it, empath. And we just started the whole thing, and then gradually got more members, lost some members, all that stuff everybody goes through, and went on many journeys and exciting cases. And fortunately, we met Michael Chiana at the Lake Lure Inn, the 1927 Lake Lure Inn, in Lake Lure, North Carolina. And I mean, it just, next thing I know, we're talking, we're friends, we're going on, taking each other on activities and ghost hunts and stuff. And there were a few other people involved, and we all became, we're different groups. He's got a group, we got a group, these other people had groups. And we became very good friends outside of the paranormal, and relied heavily on each other for information back and forth about what are we learning, what's our next step, what are our goals, which of course we all had different goals. But that's how I got to where I got to, and how much I learned. And thanks to Michael, we have had such a good friendship, and he has been a storehouse of knowledge of different things, and really helped each other a lot in many investigations.
That is so
That's
cool.
awesome.
Thanks.
Hey,
Yeah,
so
Eddie, you and I mean, it's interesting because I feel like we're kind of kindred spirits on kind of how we got started. Because I mean, your story is almost verbatim like mine, very, very similar. I mean, a lot of experiences when I was a kid. Everybody told me I had an overactive imagination. You know, didn't talk about it for years and years and years. And then, you know, but it always stuck with me, right? That like, and I was much younger. I was like 2.5, 3 years old. But I mean, I have these vivid memories of what happened and the things that I saw. And I stumbled across a TV show of ghost hunters, and I was like, people do this? This is a thing, you know? And wound up joining a paranormal team because of that. My mom, after I did this, she was like, well, what got you into this? And I said, you know, you remember this house we used to live in when I was like this age? She goes, oh, I hated that house. And I was like, why? She goes, well, I used to see things like moving around and this, and I'm like,
Wow.
Yeah.
hello, you know. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, you know. And a lot of people I talk to, that's kind of it is kind of a synonymous thing. They had a lot of experiences when they were younger and stuff with them, and they didn't have anybody to turn to. There's nobody that would believe them, you know. So yeah, that's really cool that you had that validation though, that you finally got that. So
Well, thank you for listening to my long drawn out story, but you know,
no, that's great.
I have a question for you, Eddie.
Yes,
when that door knob rattled and the door flew, how many of your friends actually stayed around after that? Like, did they all run out the door? It's like at the end of
we
it
all
for the
ran
night?
outside. We all ran outside, and after a lot of 4-letter words were exchanged, and I'm serious, it was very freaky to these guys because they weren't expecting this at all. I was loosely expecting it, but not like that. We went back in the house, and of course we got the baseball bat, the tennis racket.
Of course,
Everybody was wanting something, and we went through the entire house, checked every room, every closet, every door, every window. Everything was locked like it was supposed to be, and they were absolutely flabbergasted. I was kind of like, you know, this has been happening to me off and on for years. And then, of course, what's funny is a lot of those same people at the time, we were all working at a restaurant. And so when I go back like the next week or week and a half, everybody I knew and everybody at the restaurant and everywhere I went, people would come up to me and say, so you have a ghost? Because everybody talked about it. It was like this big thing for a month or two. And of course, everybody had an opinion about it. And I was like, well, okay, but I had only told, you know, very close people prior to that. So it kind of got the word out. So I guess I was meant to be a ghost hunter. I don't know.
That's right.
That's funny. I was wondering about that. I was like, I wonder how that happened. So, Michael, just refresh us. Tell us a little bit, like, give us some of your background.
Well, thanks again for having us on. Love your show, and you always ask such great questions. My background is I didn't have any haunted experiences growing up in my whole household until I was about 14. When I learned about recording, and I was starting out as a musician, and you know, recording and writing songs and making little demos, things like that. And that's what got me on the path. Having a little bit of knowledge about recording, I came across an article by Dr. Hans Holzer, who's a very known, famous ghost hunter and author, and has written about 150 books on the paranormal. And I read one of his articles, and at the very end of the article, it said, you too can record ghosts. And I was like, wow. I said, oh my God, I'm going to try this. I never thought in a million years growing up, watching all the shows like Scooby-Doo and Addams Family and things like that, and ghost stories, that they were actually real. I just, for some reason, loved them. I didn't know why I loved them, but never thought that it was real until I had this experience where I actually did try that method, and I did record a man yelling and screaming top of the lungs, and freaked me out. And that's kind of what got me started back in 1978 at the age of 14. After that, I started reading every book I could, go to the library because that's where we got all our information. There was no internet. And I would go to the library all the time and just sit there for hours reading different books, taking books home. And So fast forward all these years, I'm still at it. I was 14, and now I'm 61. So I'm still at it, and I've always had an interest in the paranormal. And in the early, when I first moved to North Carolina in the early 90s, I started going to a lot of the historical places here. And I started having some paranormal experiences while I was visiting these locations. And that put me back on the back on the path of really researching things. And with the age of digital technology coming in, it just made it even better that we were able to go out and record things a little better. And so that's how I really got started with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know what I love is the collaborative relationship that the two of you have, because, you know, it sort of feeds into what we're all going to be talking about. That whole idea of, you know, helping each other. And I think that's just so refreshing and so good, because it's not that way for a lot of people. And I think for some of us, it certainly hasn't been that way always. So I really admire that collaboration aspect that you two have with each other. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What was your first what was your first collaboration together? Like when you met, was it a investigation or what like tell us
Well,
what
it was really
happened.
interesting. We actually we didn't know each other, and of course we were here in North Carolina, and there was a huge paranormal conference that was going on. And back then there weren't many conferences, not like nowadays where it's like every weekend. And at this Lake Lore Inn, which actually is a location for the movie Dirty Dancing, where they had filmed a lot of the movie, they were having a big conference with a few celebrities, paranormal celebrities, and folks like that. And we had known one guy that had a big group here, and he actually was sponsoring the entire weekend. And so we all went. I think there must have been about 200 people there that weekend. And it was nice because we would investigate and we would have big dinners with everybody. And he would do raffle prizes and things, give away equipment, things like that. And I didn't meet Eddie at all that weekend. And we were actually walking from one building back into the main building. And Eddie was out there filming everybody. And the first thing he said out of his mouth that I heard him say was, "Hey, everybody, I hope you don't mind, but you're going to be on my YouTube channel." And he was filming everybody. And he said, "I'm from Garner, North Carolina." And I was like, "Hey," I said, I live right by you. I said, so quickly, I think he gave my wife a card. And after that whole weekend, I contacted him. And I started watching some of the videos he had. He had some really great videos that he had produced on different investigations. And I was like, wow, these people are really serious and they're really into what they do and they have really good evidence. And so I contacted him, and he was actually doing a video on the Lake Lore Inn from that weekend. And he didn't know at the time, but I captured an apparition in the lobby. And me and my partner, John, were down there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there was nobody in the lobby. And we were just walking around, taking pictures, different things. And I took 3 shots in a row. One shot, the second one, for some reason, the camera malfunctioned, and then the third one. And when I looked at those photos, the first one had nothing. The second one was completely blurry. And the third one had a man's leg sticking out from the side of the column like he was leaning on furniture. And I knew as soon as I saw it, I knew there was nobody there because I took those pictures within 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And then I had walked right by that area. So there was nobody down there. And so I said, "Hey, would you like to use that photo in your video? I like to share things." So he did. And that's really kind of how we built our bond and built our friendship.
That's awesome. I think, and the key on that one, and this happens a lot, right? You'll go to a place and you'll meet people and you're like, "Oh, yeah, you exchange cards, exchange information," and then nobody contacts anybody.
That's right.
They don't take that extra step. And I mean, it would be sad to think that if you hadn't done that, how much you guys would have lost out on, right?
Oh yeah. Yes.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the inhibition is on following up, on if you make a good contact with somebody and you start to develop that rapport, and then you just kind of yeah, just let it go.
Well, you have to remember back then that was 2009, so that's a good ways from now.
Yeah.
And so there weren't that many groups at the time, and there weren't all these big famous shows that are out there.
Right.
And we weren't interested in those shows anyway. I mean, yeah, of course, everybody liked watching Taps because in the beginning we did think it was real, and everybody always says, "Oh, I like to watch the locations." That's what everybody says. We actually did work with Barry Fitzgerald that weekend, and he was from
nice.
Taps, and so he was actually a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But we saw him put on the show. You know, he had his little jacket on with his Taps thing and his Taps hat, and then one by one the groups would go down to the different areas that he was in. So we saw all the celebrity stuff of it, but he was very down to earth person. He was really nice guy. And we did, and like I said, so that was 2009, and then Eddie had invited me to an investigation that he was doing with his team, and that's how we started in 2009, and we've worked together ever since. Year after year, we've always had a great time. We've gone to a lot of locations. He's included in my first episode of Journey Through the Past with the Country Squire Inn, and then he's also in the second one, which was the Ghost of Tom Dooley. So if you'd like to see Eddie, he's in those episodes, so please check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great.
And so stuff down.
How about your teams? How do they mix and mingle? Like, do they get along just as well?
I would say yes. As I had said before, there's people that come and go over the years. And there were also a few other people that were not in my group or not in Michael's group, but they were other. Is that Sparky?
Yeah,
that's Sparky.
Hey, Sparky.
Sparky was actually with us at the Lake Laura Inn.
Yes.
All those years ago.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
But I don't know, it was this crazy thing because I know there was a group out of Raleigh, Don and Beth, that had their own thing going, and they got involved with us. And I'm telling you, the three groups and a few other groups and people here and there along the way, we literally had a pool party. We had hot dog get-togethers, eat pizza get-together. We became friends outside of it. And also we would get together and go over information and let everybody tell what they felt the picture was or the EVP was, and everybody was respected. And all I can say is, toot my own horn and Michael's own horn, I guess a lot of these people we worked with and ourselves, we had good personalities as far as accepting other people.
Yeah.
And as long as you brought something to the table and you were sincere, that's what seemed to be the binding thing. Now, I'll be honest with you, there were some people along the way that maybe were not as bonded or not as good to work with because they had their own agenda. Well, me and Michael learned very early on, and Don and Beth also, we learned very early on that we are different groups. We have different missions and we have different styles, but we very much respect each other. And whoever gets the investigation, we came up with this. I don't know if other people do this or not. Whoever got the investigation was kind of the lead one that took the lead, and everybody else kind of fell in behind them. You could still do your own thing, but we just worked so well together. And like I said, the friendship built outside of doing the ghost hunting, because I know, like, me and Michael are both musicians and write songs and play songs and things, and we call each other and talk about music, and we've been around each other playing songs to see what the other one thinks, and just everybody kind of seemed to, for some reason or another, get along, and that's the people we stuck with.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you talk about respect, because really that's truly what it's all about, is respect and integrity. And you're totally right. I mean, when somebody comes into your space that doesn't have any of that, you know it, you feel it, and you have to have that respect. And there's no one-upmanship here. Like, everybody is in it for the right reasons. You respect each other, and you respect each other's techniques as well. They may not be your own, but that's okay. You respect each other's techniques. And I love that. I think that's awesome, because that's what it's all about.
Thank you. Well, we've actually disagreed on some things before, but like you said, there's a very much a respect thing there. So we pleasantly disagree. Well, I don't think it's that, or I don't hear that, or whatever. But like I said, everybody kind of gets a vote, and you try to win everybody over to what you're really hearing or seeing. And it has worked very well for us.
Yeah.
And that's a philosophy that we need to take in every aspect of our lives, right? Is that mutual respect. I mean, if we had that, we wouldn't have, big political divisions and big religious divisions and things like that. We can respect each other's opinions. We can respect each other's beliefs, and not always agree on everything. And at the end of the day, hey, we're still friends, and it's cool. Yep. It's fine, because hey, I get it. This is what you see. This is what you think. Cool. This is how I feel. This is what I'm doing. Hey, let's go get some pizza.
Yeah, pizza's always good. Right? Eddie was very lucky when he started his group. He did not get involved with a lot of other groups out there. And unfortunately, I did. And because when I first saw that there were other teams and groups in my area, of course, I wanted to gravitate to meeting them and working with them and different things like that. And back then in 08, 07, 08, I unfortunately had the mispleasure of seeing what kind of ruthless people are out there, and people that will stab you in the back, and they're friendly to your face, and you'll go do an investigation or something, and you'll submit some really good evidence that you have to, and then you'll never hear from them, and they don't share anything with you. But meanwhile, like someone like me, I like to share, and I like to share my evidence. So I came across several groups in my local area that were, the stuff that I experienced and the stuff that I witnessed, I could not believe that adults acted like this. I mean, it was everything from thievery, adultery, stealing. Somebody was going to incorporate the name of their team, and the other person's raced down to the Secretary of State office and stole the name and put it in their name, and then kick those people out of their own group. And I was like, holy shit. I said, what kind of crap is this going on in the paranormal? Yeah. And this is very early on when I started working with teams. And so I had a really bad taste in my mouth for a lot of these teams that were out there. And when I met Eddie was so nice and so kind and very easygoing. And so I had a lot of trust issues at the beginning. And then over the years, I still worked with other groups, and I fell into the same pitfall of being kind to people that did not deserve any of my kindness. I would take them to great locations, take them on the battleship North Carolina, take them everywhere that I had been in the past, and they turned out to be horrible investigators and horrible people, and had no respect for anybody. So I learned a really good, valuable lesson. And it was great. Thank God I had Eddie, because he's a good friend. And I was able to talk to him about bullshit. And he never judged. He just said, well, Michael, I'm so sorry you're going through that. And he was just there as a support. And then I finally realized I got to stop doing this shit, because it's just not healthy for me. And
no, it gets bad.
Yeah, and so now I'm very, very strict on who I'll work with. I only work with a small group of people, and I'll only work with people that are really experienced. I'm not interested in training anybody or teaching anybody. I did that for years. Don't want to do it anymore. And I see this new generation of groups that are out there, and they're all stabbing each other in the back. One minute they love each other, and the next minute they're on Facebook stabbing each other and bashing everybody. And so I keep it really down to a very small core. That's important.
Yeah.
Good for you. I think we've all learned lessons, right? I mean, I really do think we all have. And when you were talking about the stuff that you've observed and the stuff that you've been through, we've been through the same thing. I mean, we had someone, another team that basically bought every single domain name that resembled our society and then redirected to their team if anybody happened to go there. And I was like, that's dirty pool. Why would anybody actually do something like that? There's just so much disrespect. And I think that's the thing. When you learn your lesson, you really do have to keep your team tight and really kind of, I don't know. Yeah, you really do, right? It's just pretty nasty out there. Some of the things that
I think it's worse now than ever. So we don't pay attention to what we see what goes on. We're like, just turn our backs to it. We're not interested. But like I said, I had to deal with it firsthand, and so I learned a valuable lesson, a life lesson, and it's definitely all about life. And you cannot be kind to everybody. Only be kind to people that are kind to you, and generally kind, and are real friends, because real friends are hard to find. So if you have one.
Martin says that he agrees, Michael, and you should come in and be humble, shut up and learn. And after you can share, it's finding common ground and learning from each other. And Mario says, I used to be very drawn to blind para-unity, helping others for the belief that we're all in it for the same thing. And it turns out we're not. I like to be. Yeah, it's very true, because you do, when you meet another team, you're not going in, usually most people are not going in with the intention of, oh, I'm going to go in and steal their evidence, and I'm going to do, it takes a very special person that has that sort of negative intention to begin with, right? But the one thing that I do feel, even though there are teams that do this, the one thing that I do find is that with the internet and, here's the thing. There are going to be people that look at things and they always find a way to justify negative behavior, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to use an example. I'm not going to say his name, but he had a very famous TV show, and he's somebody that Lynda and Trevor know, who I cannot stand with every fiber. But he had a very famous TV show, and he was a drug addict, and he stole a ton of money.
Yeah, we know who you're
I don't want to
talking
say the name because I don't want any issues, but you know what I mean? But and now people are like, oh, we're so happy you're back and doing tours again. And it's like, you're doing tours until there's, like once a habit, always a habit, maybe not, but who knows? We'll see, I guess. If people want to give them a few $1,000s of their money, that's
yeah.
go ahead.
Unfortunately, I met him personally
Me too.
at an event, and I actually was got in an elevator in Gettysburg, and I didn't know who it was. He stepped in with two other cronies, and they were yapping away, and he stood there, and I was like, oh, look who it is. And I didn't say anything. I just said hello, and they didn't even say hello to me. They weren't even friendly. And then we all got out of the elevator, and I saw that he was doing an event there for the weekend, and he was charging $1,500 a person to hang out with him and to go to Golden Corral for dinner. So
but most of the time he didn't even show up at the events, and somebody else had to, like one of his fan base people would have to run the event. We actually had somebody from our team that was like turned out to like it ended up becoming a close friend with him, and she ended up having to run quite a few of the the events. Even though she had paid her own money, she was now pretty much having to run the event for free. And we said, look, you're going to have to choose this or this, because we don't want the reputation behind. We don't want the reputation, and so you're going to have to choose, because we did meet him too. He came to our city. I wasn't thrilled. you know, it was like whatever. But yeah, I was like, no, we're not
Well,
okay with that. But
Eddie,
you know,
Eddie knows how I feel about him too, and all the stories I've shared with him, and then when he faked that he had cancer, and he came to North Carolina to get treatment for it, and then to find out his own mother said he didn't have cancer. That really made me mad, because he was living in Raleigh, which is right here by us, and he was trying to come in and weasel his way into places that we've investigated. And no, it's just there's always going to be people out there like that. So you just
and you
the
just,
people
you know, basically it just comes down to like, look at, you know what, trust your intuition. And, you know, sometimes you just have to, you know, keep your cards close to your chest and, you know, go from there, especially if you're unsure in regards to, you know, in regards to the team. Like Mario says, I'm more careful with how many doors I keep open now. And sometimes you just need to. The one nice thing is that with the, with the internet, I guess, is that people are more willing to call out nonsense, right? And so there are people that do have a lot of egos and stuff like that, but for the most part, what's that?
Yeah, egos. Yeah, I was gonna. That's one thing I was gonna talk about. That's the key right there is the egos.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So, and I do find, like, I mean, and just as another example, before, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Trevor, but just as another example, I mean, you know, not only with teams, but there's also locations that don't have the best reputation. And a good example would be the Conjuring House, where there was all kinds of craziness going, like not within the house. But with the owner of the house, and that was called out fairly quickly, so that a lot of people didn't lose their money, because teams, you know, if they want to investigate places like this, it can cost a pretty penny. And you know, that's something that they're putting in their own cash, or maybe they're fundraising or whatever it is. But I mean, when you hear about this type of behavior, I guess is the best way to say it, you know, from some of these locations, it's good for people to have that opportunity to be able to call out fraud and stuff. Sparky says, we find the best evidence when we all work together. We join our skills for debunking to find the probable truth. And then he says, Trevor knows, not so many egos in this field. It can be hard just to do your job or focus on what you're doing. This is why you need groups like WIP and others. Yeah, for sure. So, like, sorry, Trevor, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, it's totally fine. You know, it's just the issue is, like, so when I first joined my first team, they were very much affiliated with TAPS. I have nothing against TAPS. You know, I think they've done a lot of good things for the field. You know, where they went, whatever. They kind of got paranormal investigators into a lot of places. They kind of made it mainstream, which is pretty cool. And they brought a lot of new, fresh ideas and new blood into the game, which has been great. However, the team that I was on was very much, if they're not TAPS, they're not any good. You know, so you have to stay away from them. And they work very hard to keep those teams out of investigating certain locations. They, you know, it was really, really bad. And there was zero, like, nope, anything that they put out there is a lie. Anything our stuff's on, you know, this. And so it was really interesting coming up in a team like that, because, you know, I didn't know any better, right? But fortunately, I've got a brain as well, you know, and would be able to watch and see what other people were doing. And I was actually picking up new ideas and learning, you know, different, you know, because the thing about it is, it's like, I mean, I can't speak for your guys' teams. My team, we have yet to put a ghost in a jar to show the whole world. Say, look, it's ghosts, they're real, right? So, to my knowledge, nobody's been able to do that. So
this is my ghost.
You know,
I got a ghost.
I'm trying. I mean, I have methods that I think that we've been relatively successful, but, you know, again, I still don't have that, like, definitive evidence to put out there in front of everybody. And as far as I know, nobody else does either. So my ways might be okay.
We do.
You got your jar? You got your ghost in the jar?
No, I have it in a picture.
then the pictures are great, right? And I
Yeah.
love that. And you know, the thing about it is I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't think any one team or one person has all the answers yet on.
I'm just going to interrupt you and just show you this.
Interrupt. I want to see the picture. I can't see it. I got to zoom in.
That we captured on video, and we actually were able to take frame by frame out of it to capture. But we have the video of this thing actually floating in the air. Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
That's a really, really great photo.
Yeah,
and that's in the Country Squire episode. So if you want to see it live, just watch
Country Squire. I'm gonna watch it.
Anyway, I guess, you know, the point being is, like, you know, you got ideas, and Eddie's got ideas, and Lynda's got ideas and stuff like that. And, you know, that's what I want. I want to hear more. I want to learn from people that have been doing this since, you know, 78. Is that what you said? Or how long have you been doing this, Michael?
Yeah.
Since 78.
Well,
Lynda's
that
been
was my first experience, but the early 90s.
Early 90s. Lynda's been doing this for a couple of years. You know,
1981.
Yeah, I started in 08, I think. You know, there's so much knowledge there. And for people to turn and say, well, you're not part of my team, or you're not affiliated with this group, so you're just full of crap, is absolutely flabbergasting to me. You know, I can't wrap my mind around that way of thinking.
That's not
you
real.
know,
And I hate when everybody throws up this paranormal unity thing that came out, and they had the bumper stickers and they had all the little logos and all that, but they were preaching it, but they weren't living it. And me and Eddie were living it. And
it makes me think of the coexist stickers, right? So
yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Okay, yeah. As they're flipping me off, as they're cutting me off on the road. All right,
that's
thanks.
right. But yeah, you have to go out and do it. You have to live it. You know, words are cheap. You know, go out and do it. Actually, you know.
That's exactly
I've met so many really great investigators that have shared their evidence, and I was blown away with what they've captured, apparition-wise, and really amazing photos. Not just like, you know, is it an orb or something? Because that's, you know, very questionable. But really solid AAA evidence, and so that always generates me more to want to work with seasoned people that are really
absolutely.
And I just want to see if these newer, younger teams are going to be around as long as we've been around. I'm curious to see if they're going to last 10, 15, 20 years. It'd be interesting to see. I'll still be at it.
You know, you can tell a good team if they don't start like, you know, I know here in Edmonton, you know, there was a few teams that, you know, right away they'd start to, well, we're going to get a show. We're going to do a show. We're going to do like, you know, and it was like, okay, so you don't really have any clues to what you're actually doing. You're just in this for clicks and likes, and, you know, you don't care about the actual investigation or anything like that, you know, and
Yeah, I think anybody that got into this field because they wanted to get famous is definitely not in it for the right reasons, and they won't last. Because I never dreamed that I would be helping to host a podcast, you know, or being able to be invited to go teach at a convention or something. I never thought anybody'd want to have. I mean, who am I? I'm just a weird kid from Idaho, just kind of hanging out in somebody's basement looking for ghosts, right? Because I wanted my own answers, right? I was looking for my own validation for things that I had experienced, and to try to provide an outlet for others who didn't have anyone to turn to like I did, you know. And that's all that I set out to do.
That's what this is all about. And really, like, what's great, and you guys maybe don't realize it, putting together shows like this that you guys have created, and I have many other friends and other hosts that have been on their shows. That is what really brings us all together, is doing these shows and sharing our experiences. Because I wish all these paranormal shows would go away. They're garbage. 90% of them are garbage. I'm not talking bad about people, but they're just garbage. And they're
just cheesy entertainment anymore. There's something
entertainment.
And I love to talk to people that have real experiences, and, you know, work full time and do this as a passion, and have been doing it for a long time and had a lot of experiences. That's what this field really is, right here. This community right here. It's not the TV shows. And so the quicker that those fade away, and we've seen them all look, we've seen taps go to the height and then they faded away. They couldn't even stand each other. They backstabbed the hell out of each other. So you're going to see that with all these shows. And I don't watch them. I'm not interested in them. I do love haunted history shows. So if you're putting out something with really good graphics and it's a great story, and I love that stuff. That's my favorite. But I have no interest in watching other teams investigate. Not something I like to watch.
Well, Lynda
So
was
what
on
you're saying is you're not going to watch my live stream, huh?
I'll do it if you talk and not stand in the dark and curse.
Kind of in the dark, yeah. Well, our live streams are funny because usually it's us just standing around BSing with each other. So
what was that?
who's that? Holy crap! Oh my gosh, dude, run!
Yeah.
You get a few F words.
Thanks, Sparky.
Well, I wanted to say something. I know Mario had said something on there previously about he likes to be fair. I think that's the bottom line with a lot of it is you got to be fair and honest. You got to help people, and the people that are making you trip up and messing you up, you move on. The people that are helping you and that are like-minded, that are trying to do good things, you stay in touch with, and if you can, you work together. And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to Sparky and his wife Louise. Sparky is a great investigator. He really knows what he's doing, and he put a lot of time into it for years. And just like us, I appreciate it. It's like you guys said, the people that are running around, I want a TV show, running in the dark and cursing and carrying on and screaming. That's not, to me, real ghost hunting. And now, if you get a television show, great, wonderful. I'm all for you. But our goal was never to get a television show. Our show was to document and help ourselves learn and help other people. And all of the videos that I've done for many years, and Michael knows this for sure, I always give credit to the people that captured the EVP or the picture or the video, whether it's in our group or whether it's outside somebody, like when Michael lent me the picture from the Lake Lure Inn. I always put people's names on there. I do not try to make it look like we captured something that nobody knows about. You got to be fair and honest about it. And over years and time, we've made great friends, learned lots of information, and just had a great time. Right.
I don't know any of the Sparkies, so you guys can.
From Idaho.
Idaho's very own Deadpool. So,
okay. Well, hey, that's Sparky. There's another
Sparky's
Sparky
awesome.
that watches too sometimes. So.
Yeah, Sparky. Idaho Sparky has a lot of passion for paranormal investigation. He puts everything into it. I mean, his knowledge of equipment and electronics, things that he's able to put together. He does his own podcast, and he has his own show, which is great. He is a very, very good investigator.
He must have been freaking out. We're saying that he was at the Lake Lure Inn with us.
Yeah, there's another.
He's like, it's like, oh man, I must have been
glad to know there's two good ones.
Well, good. Now we can look up Sparky stuff.
There you
go.
We would actually love to have Sparky on the show. So just letting you know, message us.
I'm sure we can make that happen. So
yes.
I'm sure he'd love to be on the show.
Message us.
Good. Do you know what's interesting? You were talking about paranormal shows, and Kathy, I know you were laughing because it's true. I was on a paranormal show. I did 3 seasons of Paranormal Survivor. And it's interesting because when you talk about paranormal shows, there are some that I certainly, like you all, go, oh, God, here we go again. But what I liked about Paranormal Survivor was that, despite some of the perhaps strange reenactments that they would do, all of the cases were actual cases. So as people who commented on them, and they called us paranormal experts, but you all know nobody is an expert in this field because the field is changing all the time. You may be more experienced in the field, but you're certainly not an expert. However, I liked the show because every single one of the cases was real. And we were briefed on the cases. We were given the firsthand accounts from all of these people. And I mean, I believe that it's so important to see, the common denominators of experience, because there are people out there that have experienced things like that, and they don't want to tell anybody because, of course, they think people will think they're insane.
Yep.
But when you have shows like that actually share people's experiences, again, there's this collaboration, right? We were talking about that. Well, you know that you're not crazy. You know that you've had those same experiences, and it's important to have that commonality. And when you talk about paraunity and working together and collaborating with people, you have like minds. You're sort of connected, sort of physically, spiritually, maybe even, who knows, right? But you have that connection. And I think that's so important. And paraunity, it used to be like this big pipe dream. I've been doing this since 1981. And I remember, in the early 90s, talking to paranormal people. And it was like, we're never going to be on the same page. No, because everybody's trying to up one and get, more experience than the other and more evidence than another. That's not what it's all about. It's about collaboration and respect and integrity. And if you have that, and you can connect with people who have that, I think that's so important. And I'm so glad that you two have found each other in the field, because it's really important.
Well, this is great. Now we can watch your show because we didn't even know anything about it. And, we talk about these shows. We're not saying 100%, but there is a good 70, 80% of crap out there. And then there's other 30% that's excellent shows and well-produced and really great people like yourself that actually are very serious about what they do. And so we're never putting anything into one basket saying, oh, this is all, but just for the basic shows that are out there, that's kind of what we're commenting on. But absolutely right. And I'm looking forward to watching those episodes with you.
Yeah, they were fun, and I liked it because, as I say, they were all real, and that's important because, as you know, a lot of those shows are not real.
Definitely.
Yeah. I was on there's a place not too far from where I live. It's called Silver City, Idaho. I don't know if you've ever heard of Silver City, Idaho, but really well-known kind of ghost town. Old Idaho Hotel up there is supposed to be super haunted. I've been thinking about trying to get up there, but they wanted like an astronomical sum of money to rent out the building, and I'm like, I'm not a TV show or anything like that. Just wanted to come up and check it out. But anyway, one of the hotel maids there, I struck up a conversation with her, and she gave me a tour of the place, and was talking about how one of the shows had come through. I won't say which one, and how disappointed they were when they left, because they left all their fishing line and strings attached to doors and chairs and things like that. And they were like, they couldn't understand why they were doing that in a place that had so much activity in it to begin with. And I was like, well, who knows? Maybe they were just getting B-roll. I don't know. But yeah, it seemed pretty tacky to, and and after, and that's what I tell people all the time. Maybe if you want to watch those shows, fine. Some of them are entertaining. I get a good laugh out of some of them, and I'm like, if my team members acted like this, I'd kick them off immediately. But and the hard part is, I think that if, because when we do a lot of our investigations, we'll put up a live stream of our static cams, so people can just kind of zone out and watch what we're doing, and they can check out a cam for however many hours that they want and stuff.
Right, that's good.
It's not exciting. It's pretty boring, right? And that's the problem with real paranormal investigations. It's like, it's usually pretty boring. There's not a lot of energy. That's the work that you have to there's not a lot of energy while you're in it, right?
To be able to capture a photo like that, that took us a lot. I mean, we did 11 investigations over the years for that location, and maybe the third or fourth one in is when those guys actually captured it on the thermal video.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to be able to do that kind of work, because when you do capture something, EVP or video or a photo, it makes it all worth it. And
100%. That's what
we
keeps you
don't-
coming back.
and we don't have, me and Eddie have worked together for years. We're never bored ever on Investigative, because we are always, as different individuals, we're always trying to do different things while we're on those locations. We'll set up this for a little bit, then we'll move over here, then we'll move over. And we are constantly trying different things until we leave. And so we are never bored. I don't remember doing one case where we were bored ever.
Well, I'm not saying that, that I'm just saying it might be like people trying to watch golf on TV.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing when you're playing. It's one thing to play golf.
Yeah.
It's another thing to watch the grass grow, right?
Exactly.
And so because the people that are watching aren't really seeing the payoff right away. And and with these generations that have that want that instant gratification, and stuff like that, that's really tough to make. It's hard to make a live stream like that entertaining enough for somebody to want to stick around and watch it.
And this is where putting a show together, if you're just following everybody else's cookie cutter show on the paranormal, why bother? Why bother?
That's how I feel about it too.
Us personally, when we're like the documentaries that I make, I do the history, I do the interviews. I'll show maybe a few minutes of us actually investigating, and if I do, most of the time I'll put in the evidence that was captured at that moment, like the EVP.
That's the way to do it.
And I don't ever want to sit down and watch investigators investigate. So
I don't either. I think it's lame.
Out of an hour episode, maybe you're going to see 3 or 4 minutes of us actually investigating, and the rest.
I think that's a great way to do it. Because it's more engaging, and you get that evidence right away. And this is what
that's right. That way, that's the
that's
way to do it. So if you're going to make a show, don't follow everybody else. And 90% of these shows out there are just all the same premise. Running around the dark. That's why, like what Lynda did, I'm sure that's a well-produced show, and they have really good interviews and locations and good filming. Yeah, the colors and the color scores are very important. People don't realize that, but when you color score these different scenes, that makes it more intriguing too. Music, like all the stuff I do, I include original music in all of my shows, and I have original artists that make the music for the show. And people don't know why they like it. They just watch it and they're like, wow, I really like this. So music's important, color grade, and also the content is very important.
I tell you, my favorite all-time paranormal show, way back, I think it was like in 2013, was Dakota Layden's spoof on Ghost Adventures. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Funniest freaking thing I've ever watched in my life, and still more believable than the real show.
either one from Project Fear or something. What was the show that he was from? Was he from a show?
Yeah, he started a new show. He won a contest, and then he actually started working for Ghost Adventures as a videographer.
Okay. Oh,
and now and Dakota Layden now has a show, or he had one. And what was it called? I was just talking to my team about it. I showed them. What's that?
Was it Project Fear?
It might have been. It might have been something like that.
Yeah.
Because he was it sounded like he was kind of tired of the way things were going on that show, so he started his own deal. I haven't seen any of them, but I mean, he does a great impression of Zach Baggins. I mean,
I cannot stand that man. I can't stand him. I can't stand his show.
It was so funny. So if you get a chance to watch it, if you YouTube.
I have seen them.
Ghost Adventures spoofs. They're a little crude in their humor, but it's still damn funny. So.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, guys, for being here with us. Thank you so much, Eddie Howell and Michael Luciano. It's such a pleasure to have you on. We hope to do it again soon. Yeah. And thank you, Lynda, Trevor, everybody, and everybody watching. We so appreciate you. And, we can't let you know enough how much we truly appreciate you being here with us every week and, liking the show, commenting, sharing all of that. It means the world to us. So thank you so much. We will see you next weekend, and have a wonderful week, and take care.
Thank you very
Bye,
much.
everyone. Take care.